Hello and welcome back to Rada. My name is Beast. Today I'm back with If My Heart Had Wings. I merely want to talk about something. Someone in Scott's server is currently playing Harem Kingdom, but they decided, you know what, let's go through it. I think they played it regularly before already, but they decided to go through it again. But without the R18 patch this time, aka Harem Kingdom Hat Pat Edition. And one character in Harem Kingdom is Little Brother. That Little Brother is an entity the main character accidentally created when he wanted a little, because he always wanted to have a little brother and had a staff of creation, so he decided, fuck yeah. And in the actual game, because of the main character's deep-rooted fear of being cucked, Little Brother is lacking a penis. But since in the Hat Pat edition, sex isn't a thing, instead of lacking a penis, he lacks hands. What the fuck? Anyways, yeah. That's funny. To me, at least. Hello? Oh, I can't access the log. This is technically one line in. Oh well. We stared in complete bewilderment at the wide open, empty lot overgrown with lush grass.
ここ全部私たちで綺麗にするの？ああ、そうだ。覚悟してたこととはいえ、実際に見るとおじけづくわね。
We were on the verge of completing the main wings, so we were actually starting preparations for the test flight. Among those was preparing the runway. In the meadows that stretched beside the lake, there was a wide flat area without any slopes. When we heard runway, everyone imagined an airfield covered in asphalt or something like that.
やはり夏場は雑草の成長が早いな。
It was the first time I saw weeds overgrown to that extent. Since our glider was handmade, we'll be making the runway ourselves too. We had to tidy this place up. That's why we called for some help.
なんで俺がこんなことしなきゃなんねえんだよ。
そんなこと言っていいんだ。エリちゃんにあんたの恥ずかしい秘密ばらすわよ。
Evil.
汚ねえ、マジ汚ねえこの女。
あんたこそ余計なことベラベラ喋って、本当ならお尻キックかましてやるところよ。
やっぱこいつ中身は男だよ。
Aga had persuaded Masatsugu to come with us.
さすがにきつそうだけど、頑張るっきゃないか。
Wait, so that's her actual, like, everyday outfit? I always thought that looked like a fucking pajama. As a condition for preparing her meals throughout the summer holidays, we got Kanako to come and help us.
私にできるかな。
We also brought along the unfortunate Hotaru, who came only to deliver a change of clothes for Ageha. And then there was Hat. Ducks eat weeds, so we didn't really need to force him. We just took him out for a walk. But isn't this private property?
ああ、そうだ。この広場の所有者はソアリング部の OB らしい。
In other words, this person was a member of the past soaring club from before Amane and the others revived it again.
定期的に草刈りをすることを条件に無償で貸してくださっている。
Wow.
それじゃ始めましょう。無駄口叩いてたら日が暮れちゃうわよ。
They just like strap a fucking like lawnmower blade to the like bottom of a wheelchair. He just goes fucking hard across the fucking field. At the command of our vice president, Abane Kotri, the weeding commenced. Oh yes. The dreadful heat made it all the more difficult. There was nothing that would block the direct sunlight here. The wind blowing from the direction of the lake barely managed to cool us down a bit. It's hot! A towel wrapped around my head in place of a hat was already drenched in sweat. Everyone be careful not to get a heat stroke! It said that you should drink water regularly. On a day as hot as today, it's best to drink something even before you start feeling thirsty.
もうダメ。ちょっとコンビニ行ってきていいか？
情けないな。男の子でしょ？
こちとら、バイトとバンドと恋に夢中な、もやしっこなんだ。
Kotori, are you alright?
平気よ。お尻が超ムレムレだけど。
I thought that it might be impossible for the wheelchair-bound Kotori to do the weeding, but she wanted to do it nevertheless. I'm worried that she will overdo it without thinking of her health and end up collapsing. Yeah, I have a sports drink.
Thank you.
What's wrong, Kotoru?
虫
Grasshopper jumped out of the grass that she was about to cut. What? It's just a grasshopper. Kotoru hid behind me, scared. I caught the grasshopper and released it in an area that we had finished cutting. Don't get caught by Hat, he'll eat you. Grasshoppers are duck's favorite food.
ありがとう、青鬼。
Katoko was using a lawnmower that Agaya borrowed from a local farm. Just cutting down all the weeds that weren't much bigger than ankle level. There was no problem as long as they weren't tall enough to get tangled around the wheels, so there was no need to pull them out from the roots. You know, if they could borrow something like that, shouldn't they have like talking is hard. Because we have like 2 lawnmowers. 2 different kinds of lawnmowers. We technically have 3, one of them being like my grandfather's old lawnmower. But we have 2 different types. There's regular lawnmowers, that's the one we have twice. Oh, 4 technically, because we also have the tractor, which is also helpful. Then we have like a bigger one. Hold on, what's it called? I think it was. Guillotine cutters, apparently. Basically, instead of like having the typical thing, it had like basically an open front with like low just like blades. So the grass was basically still just lying on the ground afterwards, but it would be able to basically cut any height of grass without problem. Just get one of those, basically.
こら、ハット先輩、邪魔だよ。ミンチになっちゃうよ。カッカッ。
Thinking that the lawnmower was a living thing, Hat sometimes tried to mess around with it.
ねえ、葵くん。その子をどっか連れてっといて。
Will do.
わあ
I carried Hat away. He didn't like it though, so he struggled all the way. Alright, you should be fine.
やっはー。
Could you take care of this troublemaker?
おう、いいぞ。
Even Amina, who usually secluded herself in the garage, was silently absorbed in the weeding today. It reminds me, when you did test flight the other day, you also took off from here, right?
そうだ。
How did you deal with the grass at that time?
私と顧問の山辺先生とでやった。必要な部分だけだが。
Huh. The advisor?
おう、顧問だ。
Well, I guess clubs usually have one of these, but I haven't even seen him once. Hey, Agaya.
お、何？
Do you know Yamanobe?
ああ、あの若い男の先生。頼りなくてひょろっとしてる？
Seems like he's our advisor.
うん、知ってるよ。
Did you know about that? As I should have expected. Why doesn't he come to supervise our club activities?
前の顧問の先生が定年退職なさって、代わりに顧問になってくれたのが山辺先生だ。 先生はグライダーについては素人だし、あまり興味もないようだ。あの先生、事なかれ主義だからね。飛岡先生に頭上がらないし。
So the teacher has only helped with one test flight?
ああ。山野辺先生は人手が足りない時だけ協力してくれるんだ。グライダーを飛ばすには、一人では無理だからな。
I don't know what kind of person this Yamanobe was, but it was probably in a difficult position. There's no doubt there will be no end to his worries. She probably didn't want to burden him with anything. I was thinking about this while working hard on the runway maintenance. I noticed that everyone was covered in dirt. It seemed that today's bath will feel especially good. With that, the preparations for the flight proceeded steadily. Everything was a new experience to us, so even tackling tedious jobs felt refreshing. Then, one day in August, finally...
できた!
At last, the main wings were complete. Everyone looked at the two giant white wings with a feeling of joy. A lot has happened, but we still got this far.
やったね、小鳥。
Kotori looked like she could start crying any second, overcome with emotions. What are you getting all tearful for?
だって、私、こんなに頑張って、それがちゃんと形になったのって、もうずっと、なかったから。
I knew how she felt. However, still too early, don't you think?
そうそう。そういうのは飛んでからにしようよ。そうね。
Accidentally hit my microphone. Kotori wiped her eyes with her arm and fired herself up again.
歪みもない。表面も限りなく滑らかだ。
Amina checked up both complete the main wings with an uncharacteristically serious expression. Distortions of the wings inhibit the normal flow of air, reducing the lift. Also, unevenness and scratches on the surface, even those as fine that they cannot be seen by the naked eye, will increase friction and create drag.
いい翼だ。
With ominous seal of approval, Aga and Kotori high-fived each other triumphantly. Before I knew it, these two became a great duo.
これで飛べるのよね。ああ、飛べる。
Tomorrow we can finally do the test flight. Okay. Stop. Early morning. Today we were finally doing the test flight. To do that, we had to transport the glider to the runway. We put the glider on a special trailer and towed it by car.
ようやく完成したか。
Anshan, who drove into the school grounds in a lightweight truck from the workshop, whispered to himself when he saw the main wings that had been loaded onto the trailer. By the way, we received permission from Anshan to bring his truck into the school grounds. That was the first time I had seen the advisor, Yamanobe. As I had imagined, he seemed good-natured and diligent, but also quite timid.
できたよ、あんちゃん。
Aga lifted her head and let us know that the trailer had been connected to the truck.
トレーラーの中で機体が擦れたりしないようちゃんとチェックしとけよ。
The glider had been separated into several parts and loaded onto the truck. If they aren't firmly secured, they will scratch during the transportation and they might get damaged.
ここ、ちょっと緩いんじゃない？
Aga, fetch me a towel. Put the towel into the gap to act as cushioning. That should do it.
よし、じゃあ行くか。助手席はハバネさん。あとは荷台に乗り込め。お前ら、手を貸してやってくれ。
Aga and I lifted up Kotori and put her down on the passenger seat.
私も後ろが良かったな。
Kotori grumbled a little. I kind of understood how she felt. Aga and I took her wheelchair and got onto the cargo bed of the truck.
準備はいいか？
オッケーだよ。
よーし、出発だ。
Started the engine and the truck towed the trailer along. Isn't this technically, like, illegal? What they're doing right now?
はーい、みんな
Why yes, I would like a hug. It just looks like she's offering a hug. Oh, fuck it, take a screenshot in case no CG shows up, even though I very much doubt that no CG will show up. When we arrived at the runway, Amane, who came here first to make preparations, waved her hand, greeting us. Anchan parked the truck next to the runway, and we jumped off the cargo bed.
はー、楽しかった
I've always wanted to ride on the cargo bed of a truck.
いいな、二人とも。
We helped the dejected Kotri out of the passenger seat and onto the wheelchair. While we did that, Anchan disconnected the trailer from the
達
truck.
也、
よ、あまね。
すまないな。手伝ってもらって。
なーに、いいってことよ。あいつらのためならな。
ああ、
それに、俺だって無関係じゃないだろ。何せ OB なんだからな。
そうだったな。
本当は、こいつが飛ぶところを見ていきたいんだが。
Anchan, are you leaving? I was listening from a distance, but couldn't resist butting
こ
in.
れから仕事なんだ。
あんちゃんにも見てほしかったな。
大丈夫だ。ここで飛べばうちの工場からも見える。
絶対見ててね。
ああ。だから、しっかりやれよ。
Anchan gave us a refreshing smile, then he drove away in his truck. As soon as Anchan left, we immediately began the assembly. The aircraft was still in pieces on the trailer. First, we put the fuselage on the ground, and then we took out the two main wings. Kotri, keep an eye out to make sure it doesn't hit anything.
オッケー。
Aga, Amane, and I lifted up one of the main wings and attached the fuselage.
風に気をつけてくれ。そよ風程度でも翼は揚力を発生させてしまうからな。
If a strong wind were to blow straight into this, the generated lift would be quite capable of sending us flying along with the wing. After attaching the main wings, next was the tailplane.
ゆっくりね。ゆっくりだよ。
As we assembled it carefully, making sure not to scratch it.
おー。
Standing in front of the completed glider, we were all deeply moved.
こんな風になるんだ。
It's huge.
でも、綺麗。
Until now, we didn't really get to see the full view of our very own aircraft. Compared to the regular planes that we were all familiar with, it looked kind of odd. In particular, the unusually long wings that we had completed yesterday looked quite unbalanced compared to the slightly short and stout fuselage. But were they really? Now that I knew that each and every part of this plane played a role in flying in the air, it felt incredibly beautiful to me.
チェックを始めるぞ。
Amane, holding the printed out checklist in one hand, gave out instructions to everyone.
工具は揃っているか？全部ありまーす。
Before we fly, we had to make sure we had all the tools that were used for assembly. If there's anything missing, it's possible that it's still somewhere inside the aircraft. In such an event, it would cause a serious accident.
車輪の空気。
Sufficient?
ピトー缶詰まってないか？大丈夫よ。それから、
The checklist covered a lot of things. We checked the airframe for abrasions, damage and such. We even examined the inside to see if bugs didn't make nests anywhere. At a glance, some of it might seem silly, but when we consider that we'll be flying through the air in this thing, we can't really say that. For example, if one of the meters gets blocked by a bug, it could affect the piloting and possibly even cause an accident. That's why we need to check these things before the flight. Also, by assembling the glider and doing all the checks ourselves, we were able to gain a deeper understanding of the machine. I always got hiccups after I get there now. When I said that she had made some revisions to the checklist that was made by the old members.
じゃあ次はポジティブコントロールチェックだ。
As she said that, Amane got into the cockpit.
右エルロン。
The rest of us standing outside went to the part that she called out, in this case the right aileron, and held on to it, making it hard to move. Senpai moved the control stick to operate the aileron. At this time, if it moved with no resistance whatsoever, it's possible that the couplings between the control sticks and the aileron had been severed. If this were a car, it would have been like wheels not responding to the movement of the steering wheel. Needless to say, that would be extremely dangerous. These checks were also carried out on the rudder and elevator.
オールオッケーです。じゃあ今度は葵くんが後部座席に乗ってくれ。
Amane got out and I sat in the back seat. Then we repeated similar checks.
フラップ、タイムブレーキもバッチリよ。
Now that the assembly checks have all been completed, I got out of the cockpit. All members lined up for the briefing.
今日は風も穏やかで、テストフライトにはちょうどいい日だな。
Amane, who should have been explaining the important points, spoke with a gloomy expression that contradicted the subject.
だから怖がる必要はないぞ。きっとうまくいくからな。怖がってるのあまねちゃんでしょ。
Guthrie spoke quite tactlessly and Amane froze up. Then, shake. She started trembling.
風がないとグライダーは飛ばない。そういう意味じゃ、今日はフライト日和とは言えないな。
She said something.
ちょっと小鳥、どうすんのよ。いや、どうって言われても。よーし、今日は中止にしよう。組み立ての練習ができたんだからもういいよな。こーら、何言ってんの。ここまで来たら普通飛ぶでしょうが。いや、君たちはまだ初心者だから知らないだろうが、グライダーのフライトにはあまねちゃんがビビってるだけでしょ。そういう時は手のひらに一手字をたくさん書いて飲み込めばいいのよ。やだ、そんな迷信信じないぞ。
She said something rather childish.
大丈夫ですって。風が穏やかな方が安定して飛べるだろうし。
I'm backing you up too.
やだ、怖い。
Oh, she said that she's scared.
しょうがないわね。アゲハ、葵くん。
At Guthries' signal, Age and I firmly held Amane from both sides.
うわ、何をする。
They're going to force you in there.
すみません、アマネ先輩。
It's for your own good.
やめろ、離せ。
While we were restraining the struggling senpai, Guthrie wrote the person kanji on the top palm of her hand a ridiculous number of times.
人。こんだけ書けば十分でしょ。
Then Guthrie took a run-up. Hey, run-up is a bit...
やだ、やめろ。のらー。
Smack! Guthrie made her swallow those person kanji, or rather she slapped her in the face with all her strength. This looked almost like pro wrestling, where 3 bad guys teamed up to torment the good guy.
これでどう？少しは怖くなくなったでしょ？鼻が。
Having had some fighting spirit slapped into her, Amane held her reddened nose.
ちょっと聞きすぎたかしら。
Why did you slap her like that?
アマネ先輩の鼻が縮んで美人が台無しになったらどうすんの？
This was totally crazy. Senpai, are you alright?
平気だ。ありがとう、みんな。少しだけ勇気が出たよ。
Amane smiled faintly and walked towards the winch.
よし、成功ね。うわだ。
What What do you mean?
先輩は私のアイドルなんだからね。うたた。何を二人して。
Oh yeah! Fucking gank up on the cripple! Oh, no. Why did I say that? That is such a bad... That was so bad. I should have just shut my mouth there. I should not have just yelled that out. Kotori chased after us as we went off ahead. In the corner of the runway, there was a huge thing that looked like a household power generator. This was the winch. A glider, which has no thrust of its own, cannot fly into the air by itself. There are a few different methods of taking off. Typically, a normal plane is used to tow the glider into the air, where it is then detached. It's called airplane towing. With this, you can reach a reasonable altitude from the start. However, if you don't have such an expansive thing as an airplane at hand, you have to use a different method. That's where this winch comes in. To explain it simply, it's a machine which reels in a rope using a giant motor. The glider is connected to the end of this rope, and when it's pulled with high speed, it can take off. Works just like launching a kite. The difference is that the glider is huge and quite heavy. Naturally, the winch has to be huge too.
最初はフルパワーで、機体が地面から約30度に達したら、徐々にパワーを緩めていって。
Amane was teaching Kotori how to use the winch. She already explained this a few days ago, and we tried operating it before, so now it was just a review. Our roles for today are Amane and I are pilots. Kotori operates the winch, and Agaya works as ground control, supporting us during takeoff, landing, and such. By the way, this winch appears to be quite pricey, not as expensive as an airplane, but still. It was used by previous members of the Soaring Club, maintained since then, and will now be put into operation again. It's been in service for many years. To be honest, the equipment here goes way beyond the scope of high school activities.
オッケー、わかったわ。それじゃ、離陸準備に入ろう。
Alright. We walked back from the winch towards the aircraft. It was about 1 kilometer away, so it took a while. Amane got into the front seat with me following her and getting into the back seat.
シートベルト、しっかり締めてね。
As Agaya told me to do this, I checked the seatbelt a few times.
ペダルに足は届いているか？動かしにくい部分はないか？
Everything's okay. Canopy, the transparent lid that covers the cockpit, got closed.
キャノピーがロックされているか確認してくれ。
Okay. Check the lock. If it's not properly locked, there's a risk it may open during the flight. Amane performed the final check on the flight controls. Inside the canopy, Agaya checked the rope extending from the winch and connected it to the glider.
先輩、リリースのチェックお願いします。
Amane operated the release lever, and the hook holding the rope was immediately released. If this fails to disconnect, it could cause a big accident. So it must be always carefully checked before the takeoff.
OK です。
Agaya gave a signal from outside and connected the towing rope once again. Suddenly felt a lot more nervous. This aircraft will fly through the air. Still didn't feel real. To begin with, can an aircraft that we made ourselves really fly? It has no engine, but it can't even flap its wings like a bird, so will it really be alright? I've had the theory explained to me many times, but you won't get the real feeling from theory alone. If you want to get that, the only option is to fly. Finally, we can fly. Finally. Senpai?
大丈夫。怖くない、怖くない。みんなが作ってくれた翼は、私のなんかよりずっと優れている。だから、 大丈夫。
や。
さっき小鳥が恐怖心を追い払ってくれたし。でも、いざとなったら頼んだぞ。葵くん。
Leave it to me. This is why I was training on the simulator until I got sick of it. I went over the takeoff procedure in my head. The most dangerous part of the flight was the landing. However, serious accidents can easily occur during the takeoff too. This time I could rely on Amane, but to learn such a vast material, it was necessary to have the whole procedure in your head. I'll get tapped the canopy from outside.
Jimmy!
When Senpai and I replied, ready, I'll walked around to the side of the aircraft, lifted up the left wing that was touching the ground. The aircraft became level. The wings of a glider are really long, so it can't stand on its wheels like a normal plane. That's why it's standing on one of the wings touching the ground. Therefore, during takeoff, someone has to run along during the wing, holding the wing up until it gains lift. Agya, who was holding up the wing, Signal Kotri, who was waiting far away. That launch preparations were complete. Just as Amane whispered this. Whoosh! The aircraft suddenly got pulled fast. Pulled by the winch, the glider was quickly accelerating. The wheels jumped on the unpaved runway. Agya ran along while holding up the left wing. Turned to the side and our eyes met. Whoosh! A few seconds after it started gliding, I felt the aircraft rising. And we were pulled for only a few meters. As soon as it started gliding, accelerating, I'm gonna pull back the control stick. The aircraft raised its nose. I didn't know what the exact angle was, but to me it felt extremely steep. Whoa! My whole body trembled with the G-force. I was hitting turns by the sensation of the aircraft gliding forward, the feeling of being strongly pulled by the winch. I looked down through the canopy. However, at this angle, the main wings were blocking my field of view. I could hardly see the ground at all. At what altitude are we now? An uncertainty of the situation made me feel a hint of fear. Suddenly, the pulling force disappeared, and the released aircraft started gliding gently. That's because it's been detached from the winch. We're flying. From that moment, the glider was no longer borrowing power from something else. It was flying all by itself. I've never experienced a strange feeling of gliding before. The sound of the wind was awfully loud. Sitting in the back seat, I turned around and saw that the towing rope has been safely released. With a small parachute attached to it, it was slowly falling to the ground. Release confirmed. The glider managed to take off into the sky without any problems. Really flying! Awesome!
下は見ない方がいいぞ。怖いからな。
You don't need to look down, Senpai. Please keep looking straight ahead.
ラジャー。
Check the ground in places, Senpai. We're about 300 meters above the ground. All guys were covering the towing rope. Towing rope, aka the one coming from the winch, was attached to the bottom of the aircraft by a hook. The hook can be detached from the cockpit at any time. It is usually done just before the glider reaches the point above the winch. Even if the control malfunctions, the hook is designed to automatically detach when the glider passes the point directly above the winch and gets pulled back. Once the towing rope is released, a small parachute opens and it slowly falls down to the ground. If it's not detached, it can cause a serious accident, so you must always confirm that it has been released. From the back seat, I enjoyed the view from 300 meters above the ground. You can see the whole city. You can see the roof of Flying Fish Manor, which was quite close to the runway. You could also see Agya's house, which looked tiny. And there's school! Amazing! We're really flying!
あんまり飛んでると言わないでくれないか。意識してしまうじゃないか。
Oops, sorry. I shut my mouth and enjoyed my first flight in silence. When I saw the flying glider from below, it was relaxing, but when you actually try getting in it, it's relaxing. However, hearing the roar of the wind and feeling the air resistance with my whole body was something I couldn't experience in the simulator. Those were the forces that kept the glider, which had no thrust in the air. Even though the aircraft moved down slowly, it didn't fall. It flew leisurely through the
この
winds.
翼はすごいな。
Are they?
安定感が抜群にいい。本当に私が作ったものとはまるで違う。
It's all thanks to those guys.
ああ、降りたらいっぱいハグしよう。旋回する。
She said and tilted the control stick to the right. The aircraft rapidly leaned to the right. Whoa! Senpai returned the control stick to the original position to correct the aircraft, which had banked too far, but... She moved it too far and the glider banked to the left. Senpai, what are you doing?
何やってるのかしら、あれ。さあ、主翼のテストかな。にしては、なんかヤバゲだね。もしもし、あまねちゃん？もしもし、あまねちゃん？
You received the transmission from
フラフ
Kokuri.
ラしてるけど、大丈夫？大丈夫じゃないかも。
Senpai, please calm down! For a few moments, Senpai had been trying to level the aircraft, but she keeps leaning it too far. Leaning it far too much to both sides over and over again.
エルロンが敏感すぎて。葵くん、出番よ。
Okay, Senpai, I'm taking over! Senpai let go of the control stick. In her place, I took over the controls from the back seat. Two-seater gliders have exactly the same controls in both the front and back seat. Just like I did in simulator. Tried turning it using the control stick to control the ailerons at the elevator, so it's pedals to control the rudder. Set the control stick to the right and the aircraft banked. After banking, you'll need to return the control stick back to the middle, but then it's necessary to move it in the opposite direction just a little. This was called counter-steering, but... See! The response to the aileron is too sensitive, but it's okay, this much shouldn't be a problem. By too sensitive, I meant that when I moved the control stick just a little, the ailerons responded more than normally, which was causing the aircraft to lean too far. They weren't properly adjusted. If clumsy Amane were to use controls like this, they could have been a bit dangerous.
大丈夫かな。大丈夫よ。いざとなったら、湖に飛び込めばなんとかなるわ。いや、ならないでしょ、それ。地面に落ちるよりマシよ。お、治ってきた。
Seems like we're level again.
大丈夫なのか、葵くん。
Yeah, something like that won't be a problem. It was a little hard to maneuver, but I'll probably get used to it. Okay, I'll pilot it for a while.
頼む。
For now, I'll try flying once around the runway. Slowly turned the aircraft and made it cycle around above Kotri and Ageha. From above, I could see them both waving. I wonder if Anchan is watching us too. Could just about make out the roof of Anchan's workshop from here. I turned a little more and now we were above the lake. Shall we go to the other side of the lake?
今日は気流が安定していて、上昇気流を見つけるのは難しそうだ。
We couldn't increase our altitude without getting on the ascending air currents. Even though we call it flying, in actuality, the glider continued descending slowly. If there are no updrafts, we will have to land sooner or
け
later.
ど、この翼ならいけるかもしれない。
Roger that. If it looks bad, I'll turn back midway.
「あれ？どこ行くんだろう？風車の丘に向かうみたい。届くかな？さあ。」
The glider proceeded to fly across the lake. The altitude was gradually decreasing, but there was still some safe
ケ
margin.
ーキは私が見ているから。
Yes, please. I learned how to read the instrument in a simulator, but I still wasn't used to it. We just flew straight forward, and after a short time, the other side of the lake came into view. There, on the gentle slope of the hill, the windmills were lined up. Today, the wind was quite weak, so they weren't turning that much.
なんだろう、あれ。ん？ほら、あそこあそこ、こっち来るよ。飛行機かな。
Would you look at those two?
あ、ほんとだ。姉さんって昔から目がいいわよね。しかし、やけに低いところを飛んでるのね。速度も出ていないようだし。
Saw you flying for the first time from over there, Amane.
ああ、あの時か。
The day I came back to this town. The day when everything began. Kotiri was waving around at the glider at that time. Did you see her?
いや、それどころじゃなかった。あの日は気流がいい具合に荒れていて、生きた心地がしなかった。
Ah. Down very low! While we were speaking, we crossed the lake and we're now above the windmills. Just like Senpai did on that day, I slowly turned above the hill. It felt really strange to look down at the giant windmills from above.
ゆっくり回ってる。変な飛行機だね。あれは、グライダーじゃないかしら。グライダー？ええ、多分だけど。
I like how they even fucking coordinate their outfits to look similar. Like they want to be fucking mistaken for each other.
グライダー。すごくゆっくり飛ぶんだね。気持ちが良さそう。エンジンを積めばもっと早く飛べるのに。どうしてそうしないのかしら。
Because if I wanted that engine, you'd need a license. Do you need a glider license? Okay, so you do need a license to get to be a glider pilot. You need a proper license. I just saw someone message me. Hold on.
Aoi-kun, だいぶ高度が下がってきているぞ。
Roger, heading back. Couldn't stay here for too long. We had to return when we still had enough altitude to cross the lake. Momentum when we were turning back towards the runway on the other side of the lake. Saw people on the top of the hill. There were two of them, girls I think. Seems that they were looking up at us. They probably didn't like gliders, just like Kotari. So I arbitrarily imagined that and left the windmill hill behind me.
行っちゃったね。ふわふわしてて、なんだか頼りなかったわね。うん。でも、飛んでるって感じがした。ああ、戻ってきたよ。だいぶ低くなってるわね。着陸するみたい。もしもし、葵、聞こえる？
No. Land clear, we're preparing the land.
了解。着陸するって。
Well then, I'll return the controls to you.
了解。
Senpai nodded nervously and grabbed the control stick. It's said that the most glider accidents happen during the landing. When descending from flight, coming into contact with the ground, even one coming into contact with the ground, even one mistake can easily cause some physical damage. The tricky thing about the landing is that even when you push the control stick forward to lower the altitude, speed will increase. When the speed is too high, the impact from the landing will be significant. Also, there's a risk you won't be able to stop in time past the end of the runway and crash into something. That's why you need to lower the altitude while keeping the speed as low as possible. Hence, the main wings of gliders are equipped with several types of lift-decreasing devices. In short, by reducing lift, the altitude can be decreased without gaining speed. Gliders tend to have a rather simple structure, but this type is equipped with several different devices used during takeoff and landing.
降りてきた。いいよいいよ、そのまま。
Thump. Ah! Amina managed to not scratch the underside of the glider, even though at the moment of touchdown she pretty much dropped it to the ground. After landing, the glider covered several meters before the wheel brakes stopped it.
おかえり。
When we opened the canopy, Aga peeked inside. We made it! I unfastened the seatbelt and crawled out of the narrow cockpit. Senpai, are you alright?
大丈夫だ。
Senpai slowly unfastened her seatbelt as well. I got out first and gave Senpai a hand. Though a mere 10 minutes had passed, I strangely missed the feeling of a solid ground beneath my feet.
どうだった？
Kotri, who arrived a little after Aga, rushed ahead and started firing questions at us. Well, how should I put it? That was awesome! It was absolutely the best. Another precious came to mind. Came to my mind. How long were we flying for?
だいたい15分ってとこかな。ねえねえ、風車の丘まで行ったの？
Yeah, just for a little while. Got a pretty good look at it.
いいな。お疲れ様です、天音先輩。
Aga passed Senpai a bottle of mineral water. The cockpit that was exposed to direct sunlight all the time was unbearably hot
あり
inside.
がとう。どうでしたか？視力の具合は。以前よりも全然滑空が滑らかで、いい感じだった。よし！でも、途中でフラフラしてましたよね。ああ、エルロンがピーキーすぎた。少し調整しないと。他には何か問題ありましたか？そうだな。
While Kotri and I were overwhelmed with excitement, Aga and Amane were continuing their practical conversation beside us.
もう少し飛んでみないとわからないが、今のところそのくらいかな。了解っす。じゃあすぐエルロンの調整だけしちゃいましょう。
Aga enthusiastically went to get the tools.
何してるの？みんな手伝ってよ。今日中に飛べるだけ飛ぶんだから。
Testing had only just begun. And a few more tests afterwards. The main objective for the day was to test the freshly made main wings and check on paired meter. That and my flight practice. Thanks to the work I'd put into the simulator, I was able to control it from the very beginning. Only realized this after flying the real thing, but Abene's simulator gave a pretty realistic sense of flying. I have to say, that's what I'd expected of her. After we finished adjusting the ailerons, I practiced the takeoff and landing and was able to use the basic maneuvers. As we returned from the 5th flight, Age and Kotoru came over to us.
お疲れ
I opened the canopy and groaned. It's so hot!
ー。ほい、水。
It appears that when you are flying in the season, water is
だいぶ
indispensable.
慣れてきたんじゃない？
Yeah, my body got used to the cockpit.
さっきの旋回、すごく綺麗だったわ。着陸も、あまねちゃんよりスムーズだった。葵くんは上達が早いな。
Amane said in such a way that it was hard to tell whether she was glad or sulking. To be honest, she still had a complex about her clumsiness. I'm pretty tired. I'll take a little break. When I got back onto the ground, my legs were a little unsteady. Rather than from fatigue itself, it was more because being in the air for so long had messed up my sense of balance.
十分テストできたし、続きはお昼を食べた後でいいか。そうしますか。
As we proceed with this conversation, Kotori...
さ、私も乗りたい。
Amane looked at me. Wait a minute, I can't give her a ride. You're the one who has the license.
でも、もう君の方が上手だぞ。
That might be true when it comes to normal flying, but not all flights are trouble-free. If something happens, I might not be able to deal with it.
あまねちゃん、操縦してよ。あんた正気？
Age responded reflexively, and Amane made a slightly hurt expression. Well, when I was in the back seat, seeing Amane piloting from up close, my heart was certainly beating dangerously fast.
いいの。命をかけるだけの価値はあると思うから。私たちで作った翼だもんね。
Kotori nodded deeply.
わかった。じゃあ、ランチの前にもう一度だけ飛ぼうか。
But yeah, it is confirmed you do need a license.
やったー!
Probably easier to get a glider license than a proper fucking pilot license, though. Atop her wheelchair, Kotori threw her arms into the air.
じゃあ、私がウィンチ操作します。葵、小鳥を後ろに乗せるから手伝って。
Sure. Age and I pick up Kotori and put her in the back seat.
お尻大丈夫？ゆるくない？うん、ちょうどいい感じ。
What's wrong, senpai?
葵くんが助けてくれないと思うと不安で。ああ、気持ちはわかりますけど、後ろの人がもっと不安になるんで。平気よ。
While we continued the preparations, Age was waiting by the winch. When takeoff preparations were complete, I gave Age the signal to commence the launch.
ワクワク、ワクワク。ワクワク、ワクワク。
The fuck were those? What the fuck was that flashing about? Oh, hold on, I still have Steam open, I can close that.
ワクワク。あれ？
The winch wasn't working. Hey, what's going on? Age was waving in our direction with both hands. The next moment... Puff. Black smoke rose up from the winch.
なんか煙出てる？あ、ほんとだ。
I'll be back in a minute, just in case. Please release the towing rope now.
了解。
I confirmed that Senpai had released the towing rope, then ran over to the winch. What's wrong?
なんか壊れちゃったみたい。
said Aga, completely at a loss while looking at the black smoke rising up from a like a signal fire.
ダメだ。壊れてる。
After examining the insides of the winch, Amina, covered in oil, uttered that hopeless conclusion.
そんな。
Kotori, who really wanted to fly, was downhearted. It appears that one worn-out part broke and the winch didn't work anymore.
発行前でよかったわ。離陸途中で故障してたら大事故になってたかも。
Amina nodded in agreement. Can we fix it?
自力では難しいだろうな。業者に修理を依頼しないと。結構時間かかるんじゃないですか？1日や2日じゃ無理だろうな。
In the first place, even getting somebody to collect such a bulky machine would take quite a bit of effort. To tell you the truth, I was more worried about the costs and the time it'll take.
ってことは、今日のテストはここまでだ。
Kotori slumped down in her wheelchair, completely deflated. Until next time, he can get his license, I guess, and actually fly her. Armstrong got one of his contacts to repair the broken winch. It was an old model and some other parts were worn out too. He said the repairs will take at least a week. We were so busy until yesterday, but now we suddenly had nothing to do. We were all completely devastated. It wasn't that we had absolutely nothing to do. I went back to the simulator remembering the feeling of a real flight, and Amina was facing the drawing board as usual. Kotori opened the book she borrowed from the library and was checking something.
ただいまー。アイス買ってきたよ
Aga had to go shopping after losing a game of rock, paper, scissors with us. She just came back. She gave out ice cream to everyone.
小鳥、何読んでんの？ちょっとね、モーニンググローリーのことを調べてるの。私らの最終目標って、空飛ぶことじゃないもん。
At some point, test flight had become our objective, but that was really just a milestone. Reaching above the clouds was our true objective. We wanted to do it this summer at that. After she finished distributing the ice cream, she slumped down in the chair and dug into her own.
本当なら今頃、テスト三昧だったのにな。
Can't be helped, we can't fly without the winch. I replied, though I felt that the simulator just wasn't enough. Why don't you do your homework or something while you have the chance?
もう終わったよ。
Wow, that was quick. When did she find enough spare time to do that?
うちらさ、夏らしいことなんもやってないよね。夏祭りもいつの間にか終わっちゃったし。
That's because we've been in the garage the whole time. If I had to pick something, I'd say that eating that watermelon here was the most holiday-like activity.
なんか夏っぽいことしたーい。ねえ、どっか泳ぎに行こうよ。
Where can we go? Pools and beaches are all jam-packed during the season.
学校のプールは、水泳部が絶賛練習中だったしな。
Seems that she saw them on the way back from the store and felt like swimming too.
そうだ！あるじゃん！泳げるところ！
Ah, that spot, huh? As soon as she said that, I immediately remembered.
行こう！泳ぎに！これから！
She got up energetically and turned to Kotori and Amane.
ダメ。無理。なんで？
Look at her legs!
だって、学校指定の水着しか持ってないもん。私はそれさえ持ってないぞ。プールの授業を最後に受けたのは。そんなの、これから買いに行けばいいんですよ。
And that's how, being pressed by Aga, we hurriedly decided to go swimming this afternoon. Well, there's nothing wrong with that, I guess. It was our long-awaited summer holiday after all. We didn't get such free time too often, so we couldn't waste it on being disheartened. When the afternoon came, we stopped by the dormitory since it was closer to our destination. Okay, guys, you didn't forget anything? Alright, let's go then. Feeling like a leader of an excursion, I took everyone with me and we left the dormitory. Our destination was...
こんな場所があったんだ。地元民も知らない穴場スポットよ。
was a swimming beach. Well, not really. It was just the shore of a lake. There was some sand beneath our feet. The water was nice, and we could swim here. Just like I said, it was a good place that people didn't know about. That's because it's encircled by forest and cliffs, so it can't be seen from the surrounding area.
面白い場所だな。
Hat happily flapped his wings when he saw the waterside.
子供の頃、ここら辺を探検してて発見したんだよね。
This was our secret playground.
早く着替えて泳ぎましょう。
She got excited from looking at the waterside, just like
あっ
Hat.
ちのくぼみなら周りから見えないよ。
Said Aga as she pushed Kotri's wheelchair along. Otherwise, Kotri wouldn't have been able to move on such a sandy surface.
葵くん、こっち来ちゃダメだからね。
I get it. Jeez, you're making such a fuss.
あんたも一応男の子だから、あっちで待ってなさい。
She tossed Hat out, back to where he was before. Well then, I'll get changed as well. Even though I said I'll get changed, taking my clothes off was all I had to do. I was already wearing my swimming shorts. Hat seemed really eager to go swimming. Though, I thought that he'd like to swim in a wet place once in a while, so I brought him along. Looks like he was really pleased. Just hold on a bit longer, everyone will be back soon. I waited with Hat for a while, then the girls came back from the shadows of the cave, wearing the new swimsuit they had just bought.
Jajan! 水着なんて久しぶりだな。
Like she has Rika's voice, and I'm pretty sure Rika's swimsuit also looked similar, with like a pareo like that as well. Really are girls after all.
何それ。ひどい。そんな感想。そうだそうだ。
No, sorry, it's just that normally I don't really feel that you're girls. Keep making these terrible comments, but I can't really help it because it's true. Lately, we've been spending all this time together and didn't really feel like a man and woman relationship.
今は感じてるってことだね。ほう。
Oh. Certainly feel that. Rather have no choice but to feel it. Normally, I'm not conscious of it. But this just reminded me of how cute they are. Well, no wonder that all the boys in my class were so jealous.
それではここで、お約束の質問タイム。
Amane looks the best. No, wait, that's...
誰の水着が一番気に入りましたか？
Amane. I just shot a very straightforward question at me. All of them were conscious of my gaze and restricting poses. Doesn't look like I could give an evasive answer here. Yep, I'm really just not allowed to go for Amane here. Alas! I have to go for the vegetable. Bad. Ah! I should stop. I should just shut up. Kotri's, I guess. Forgot to read. Kotri twitched in surprise and instantly went bright red.
よかったじゃないか、小鳥。葵くんが褒めてくれたぞ。
I would have said you if I could, but the game won't let me.
しゃあないか。小鳥かわいいもんね。エッチな目で見ないで。
What sort of response is that? Wasn't that just a harmless praise?
まあまあ、小鳥ちゃんなりに照れ隠ししてんのよ。
Kotori, who still had a bright red face, hung her head low. Downwards, I mean. Not low. An all-spot question time ended without incident, and now it was finally time to go swimming. After finishing my warm-up, I started inflating the swim ring.
いらないって、そんなの。子供じゃないんだからね。
Oh, I'm worried you'd drown.
そうだよ。水の事故は怖いんだから。そんなのいらないのに。
Pretty soon you'll be glad that you have the swim ring from the bottom of your heart. I whispered suggestively, and Kotori stared at me with suspicion. Alright, finished. Put the inflated rubber ring over Kotori's head. Hold on to it tight, make sure not to let go of it.
じゃあ、行きますか。
Aga and I picked Kotori up together.
どこ連れてく気
Even though the water side was close by, we headed in a completely different
いいか
direction.
ら、いいから。
Oh, they're chucking her in. From up there. Like that, we climbed on top of a big rock that was underneath the cliff. Apparently, Kotori was slowly realizing what we had in store for her.
何する気かな。
Relax! It's really deep down there.
だから何思いっきり飛び込んでも平気ってこと
With a big grins on our faces, we swung Kotori's body like a pendulum.
いやー、人殺し
Here we go! And the one, and the two, and... We flung Kotori with our strength, and she flew through the air, drawing a beautiful arc. What the fuck? What the fuck is the main character doing? Ah! Splash! The water spray looked like a torpedo explosion.
さすが小鳥っていうだけあって派手に飛んだわね。
Yep, her leap style is pretty good. Kotori emerged from the ripples of the water, holding tightly to her swim ring. Hey, are you alright?
生きてる楽しいもう一回
Kotori waved both hands, wishing for an encore. Next is the jump with an S-class rank difficulty, a triple aerial turn, the moonsault. When we got down from the rock to get Kotori, Amne was waiting there with sparkling eyes.
次は私の番だね。
Huh. Wanna do it too?
先輩、高所恐怖症なんじゃ。このくらいなら平気だ。
There's no way we could refuse those eyes. They were so full of expectation. It couldn't be helped. Saga and I lifted Amane up. I wonder if she's heavier than Kotori because of the difference in boobs.
え、あまねちゃんもやるの？クワクワ
Get out of the way, it's dangerous there!
行きますよ、先輩
1, 2, and 3! Toss. Again with the leg. And also with the weird boob deformation. That makes me feel like her top is gonna be gone by the time she comes back up. Toss. Amane flew through the air. Her trajectory was a little lower than Kotori's. Splash! This time Splash looked like a direct hit from a torpedo. Showered with the water spray, Kotori and Hat cried out, Senpai, you alright?
あれ
Blub 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 blub. Amane was sinking. Senpai!
あまねち
Kotori paddled frantically to approach her, thrust her hands at the water, and... Amane's face appeared from the water. She clung to Kotori's swim ring.
ゃんうわ、ちょっと暴れないで
Hang on, I'll be there right away! I jumped in and go to rescue them both. There, her top was still there. Good.
死ぬところだった泳げないことをすっかり忘れていたよ
That... I feel like that's a bit of
笑い事じゃないでしょあまねちゃん
Why did you want to do it even though you can't swim?
だって小鳥が楽しそうだったんだ。それに、もしかするとパイロットスキルの訓練になるかもと思って。
I don't think that it would help with that.
私、後でもう一回ね。
Okay, fine.
じゃあ私も。
You can't do it!
シューン。
You can with the swim ring. We used to play like this a lot in the past.
小さい頃さ、これやってホタルが泣いたよね。
We were quite ruthless back then. Mazatsuga was close to tears too. However, that was kind of a rite of passage and it helped us grow up. Probably. You might say that we started acting pretty childish all of a sudden. But we were just enjoying summer activities however we liked. I haven't been moving my body too much recently, so I was just swimming around the place. Hopefully entrusted herself to the swim ring. I was drifting with Hat alongside her. Aga and Amane were building sandcastles together. Those two really do like making things.
気持ちいいわね。
Kotri murmured absent-mindedly, floating half submerged in the water.
水の中にいると体が軽くて、煩わしくなくていいわ。
He's always in a wheelchair, so even moving a short distance can be quite troublesome. In the water, even her disabled legs aren't that much of a burden. Had was in a good mood too, since he could swim to his heart's content. I passed by the two of them when I was returning from my long-distance swim. Then I got out of the water and sprawled out on the beach. That should tide me out.
おかえり。えらい遠くまで行ってたわね。
It's been a while since I did any exercise. As I thought I've lost some stamina.
にしても、すごい足してるわね。
Aga murmured while she was looking at my thighs. Huh? Yeah, I used to cycle after all.
見てよ小鳥。あんたのウエストくらいあるわよ。失礼ね。私そんなに太くないわよ。
When she said that, my glance unconsciously wandered to her waist. It really was slim. It was hard to tell because she was always sitting in a wheelchair, but Kotri had a pretty slender figure. Compared to her, Aga was,
何よ。
Nah, I was just thinking how plump you are.
ふっくらでた小鳥が細すぎんの。
Especially since she doesn't look plump. Really?
アゲハはおやつを控えるべきね。
Kotri spoke to Hat in the serious tone.
はあ、おのれ。スタイルといえば。
Both girls stared really hard at Amane, who was relaxing in the shade of a tree. She was in the water a moment ago, and her wet swimsuit was clinging tightly to her body, emphasizing her great figure.
出るとこ出てて。引っ込むべきとこは引っ込んでる。
She really does have the ideal curves.
やっぱりアマネちゃんずるい。そうだそうだ。何のことかな？美人でスタイル良くて頭もいいなんて。ちょっと天然入ってるけど、そこもなんか愛嬌あってずるい。
Amane looked at her body curiously. She put her hands under her ample breasts and lifted them up a few times. Since we've been living together for a few days, I knew Amane wasn't doing anything to maintain her line. Kotri Naga didn't worry that much about it either, but in Amane's case, she was paying it absolutely no heed. In other words, she was a natural beauty. Can't be helped, they said it's unfair.
スタイルといえば、葵くんが一番じゃないか？
That came absolutely out of nowhere! Out of the blue? Me?
ちょっと立ってみてくれないか？
I did as she said and stood up.
確かに。
I just gets up the absolute Adonis.
あ、ほんとだ。
Could you stop looking at me like that? It's kind of
い
embarrassing.
いじゃない。減るもんじゃなし。
You say that, but if I stared at you, you'd get angry, wouldn't you?
それは、男子はエッチだからよ。私らは違うもんね。
Aga looks away.
ね
Or not. Huh. So I think it's okay just because they're
え。
girls.
スラッ と細いくせに筋肉質で、なんかいい体って感じ。
I'll say weird stuff.
ちょっとこっち来て。
Went towards the beckoning Kotori.
ちょっと触っていい？
Sure, but don't touch any weird places. Kotori poked my arm muscles with her fingertip.
力入れてみて。
Do that, she said.
何これ、硬い。どれどれ？あ、ほんとだ。おお、こんなに硬くなるものなのか。
Everybody amused themselves by poking my muscles. It tickled.
じゃあ、今度はここ。
She pointed at my chest. Hey, if I touched your chest, you'd get extremely mad, wouldn't you?
うん、怒る。いいから触らせなさいよ。こんな美少女に胸触ってもらえるのよ。
I told you not to say weird.
私も触ってみたい。
Oh, it's tough when Amina says it too. Couldn't do anything about it, so I tensed up my pecs.
もこってなった。すごい。なにこれ、硬い。
What the fuck is happening? What was his name? I forgot. Hold on, let me look it up. Need to find my channel again first. That sounds weird, but like I said, I have 2 accounts that I use. And yeah, that's mainly why I have to look for it actually. Because I'm too lazy to actually just switch accounts right now. Am I just blind? Is that it? Is that it? Did I just temporarily lose my eyesight or something? It sure fucking feels like it. Come on, where is it? Where is it? Part should be somewhere around here. Come on, I'm not blind. You blind. Apparently I am blind though. Motherfucker, what's happening? Is YouTube hiding my own videos from me? Is that it? Because if it is, that's that's actually kind of funny. No way. Do I have to hit the bell for my own channel? I just, of course, just kidding. It wouldn't help me find it right now. What's happening? Hello. Motherfucker. We are now at 2 weeks ago and alas, I'm the retarded one because it was already on my account. No wonder I can't see my videos. My videos aren't shown in my own sub box. I'm retarded if you haven't gathered. Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Just grab that. Let's see, where do we have a scene with that lad? Ah, there we go. So I guess. Hidehiko! That was his name. Hidehiko would be proud of this scene.
I'm
gonna check the difference by alternating between touching my chest and her own. This was so embarrassing. But I was a wee bit glad about it. Just like girls are happy when you compliment their figure, guys like to have their musculature praised. That's probably even better. carried away and boasted, tensing up my legs.
カッチカチだ。ほえー。さすがね。すごいなあ、葵くんは。
How do you like my Welchmate dies?
でもなんか、ちょっと気持ち悪いね。ここまで来ると、ちょっとね。このまま持って殴れば、凶器になりそうだな。ん？どうしたの、葵くん。
Nothing, I'm gonna swim for a bit. The three girls stared blankly at me as I trudged towards the
どうし
water.
たんだろう、急に。さあ、男の子はナイーブだから。もうちょっと触りたかったな。
I floated in the water along with Hat to soothe my wounded heart.
体中ぬるぬる。早くシャワー浴びたい。
If it feels slippery, it wouldn't be that bad. If it feels sticky, that's the problem.
車椅子が砂でジャリジャリする。
We returned to the dormitory after playing at the lake till sunset.
楽しかった。そうか、ハットも楽しかったか。
Hamane said to Hat with satisfaction. I was worried that swimming in the lake might not be to Senpai's liking, but she enjoyed it even more than we did. When we passed the gate while chatting lively, we saw someone in front of the door.
小鳥ちゃん、ひばりね。
It was Hibari.
よかった。誰もいなくて鍵もかかってたし、携帯に電話しても出てくれないから。ごめん、気づかな。ぐわ。
Kotri groaned when she looked at the call history on her cell phone. She had an unbelievable amount of missed calls from Hibari.
もう心配したんだから。どこ行ってたの、小鳥ちゃん。
Sorry, you went to swim at the lake with
泳
everyone.
ぎに？
Hibari looked at Kotri in puzzlement. Looks like Kotri going swimming was completely unexpected.
そうだったんだ。
We didn't think that Hibari would come today. It was always quite sudden, but usually we or Kanako are in the dormitory. However, Kanako had been back at her house since yesterday. Everyone was now on the Obon holiday. Unlocked the door. Please, come on in.
今日はここで。もう行かなくちゃいけないの。
She said, then looked back to
小
Kotri.
鳥ちゃんは帰らないのよね。お父さんも母さんも小鳥ちゃんに会いたがってたわ。いい、帰らない。ここにいる方が楽しいもん。小鳥ちゃん、そうよね。こんなにたくさんお友達もできたし。ごめんね、ひばりね。
Also a little fun thing in Divinity 2. That was a part of the map where it's like an island surrounded by death fog, which it sounds exactly like what it does. It's just fog where if you enter it, you die if you're not undead. And there was like a bridge that used to be there, but it was broken now. And apparently, the way you are supposed to do that is when you activate like Spirit Sight, which you get which you get at the very early point in the story. You can see like an invisible bridge with invisible paths and invisible traps that you have to go around. There are like some moments where just walking wouldn't be enough, so you need to like use some trickery in that sense. But I didn't figure out that there was an invisible bridge. There were like these broken down like support pillars still. So what I did is I teleported my partner to it, then nether swapped with him, then teleported him to the next pillar from the beginning, then nether swapped with him. Then I continued doing that until reaching the other side before realizing, wait, hold on. There's an invisible bridge. Fuck. So I basically made it far too complicated. Anyways,
後で電話だけしてあげてね。うん、わかった。 水瀬さん、小鳥ちゃんのことよろしくお願いします。
Yes, I will certainly look after her. So please do not concern yourself about this matter as we return home. What's with that look you're giving me, grumbled Kotori.
それからこれ
Pah! She took out a huge styrofoam box and opened the lid. Inside was...
お肉だ。お中元でいただいたの。どうぞ皆さんで食べてくださいね。さすがひばりさん。お肉。
This was the second time Aga and Amane have met with Hibari. Since we started our little training camp, Hibari has come to the dormitory a few times.
それじゃあ行くわね、小鳥ちゃん。またね。お父さんとお母さんによろしく。第1回焼肉争奪紙飛行機大会。
Aga declared in a loud voice. As the name suggests, it was a contest, an all-out battle where we all made paper airplanes. The person whose plane flies the furthest would get to eat the best meat. The reason why we were doing this was because the meat Hibari brought over varied in types and sizes. There was beef, pork, and chicken, and in various cuts at that. If we were to really divide it evenly amongst everyone, it would only be a small amount of each kind of meat per person. Beef! I want to eat my heart's content of loin and ribs! Is what these three meat-eating girls all declared. That's why the first competition of this type has been hastily arranged. The challenge chosen was making a paper airplane which embodied the peaceful spirit of the soaring club.
この戦いだけは負けられない。ふふふん、アゲハちゃんスペシャルを見せてやるわ。
Everyone started folding their paper airplanes diligently. We weren't using a construction kit like the ones Kotori and I have used before in the garage. We were making them from a single piece of normal paper. We came up with our own ways of folding paper, and everyone was making airplanes with different shapes. Everybody was serious about this. The meat and our pride were on the line. Have you finished?
できたわ。オッケー。私もだ。
Holding the paper airplanes we have made, we stood next to each other in a line. We'll throw them at the same time after the signal. No complaining about the results.
前置きはいいから早く始めましょう。もうお腹ペコペコだ。どうせ勝つのは私だけどね。
Alright, get ready. Everybody had a serious expression. Now! We all threw our airplanes at the same time. 4 airplanes cut through the darkness of the night.
いけー！よし、いいぞ！頑張れ！
This looks bad. The first ones to fall was Amane's. It flew somewhat unsteadily, then suddenly stalled and fell.
あう、お肉が。
My paper airplane fell next. Only Kotori's and Aga's planes remained, and it became a one-on-one fight.
もとい、頑張れ！よしよし、いいぞ！もう少し！
Amane and I, who were now spectators, watched over the battle with nervous anticipation. 2 paper airplanes flew across the garden. Their lightness almost seemed to defy gravity. If paper airplanes can fly this far, I was admiring them more and more. It was a close finish.
やったー！優勝！こんなのずるい！
Aga protested. While getting closer to the ground, both of their planes were still increasing their flight distance. However, just as they were grazing the ground, Aga's plane got caught in the green bush. If not for the obstacle, it felt like Aga would have won
見
though.
苦しいわよ、アゲハ。コース選択も駆け引きのうちよ。くー。
Oh, it's fine. Person in second place still gets to eat the beef.
そうだぞ。私なんか。
Amane looked down at her own plane, dejected.
さあ、食堂に戻ってご飯にしましょう。
Here's the thing, though. Beef is nice. honest to God, I really like chicken. Like, I'll take chicken as well. Like a nice beef steak, sure, I'll accept that, but I usually eat chicken. Mainly because, like, the meat you usually get here in Germany is either chicken or pig. AKA pork. And I'm not really that big of a fan of pork, honestly. I prefer chicken. Sizzle. Fat from the meat was flying off the hot plate. And of course, fish is fucking amazing. Probably which I mean salmon. Fat from the meat was... Oh, I already read
おか
that.
しいな。一番飛ぶ折り方をしたはずなのにな。
Amina kept brooding over her defeat while slowly eating her chicken. Things like that can happen, you know. 4 paper airplanes just now were lined up next to the hot plate. The one I made was just a common ordinary type. Kotri had worked on the tip of hers a little and bent the back of the wings slightly, probably to increase its lift. Agia's was folded somewhat more elaborately than Kotri's. Then there was Amina's. Its shape was so complex that I couldn't even imagine how she had folded it.
確かに、この折り方が最強ですけど、うわ、雑。こんなの飛ぶわけないじゃん。
Amina put her hands to her chest and lowered her head. It appears she didn't lose because of faulty design, but due to her clumsiness when it came to making it. I guess design also seemed like it should be able to fly well. Kotri's plane was well devised and was also precisely folded.
いいんだ、いいんだ。どうせ私だってダメなんだ。
She was looking enviously at the beef loin and ribs that Kotri and Aga were eating.
このカルビおいしい。こっちのロースも最高。ザ、焼肉って感じよね。
I wanted to eat beef too, but to be honest, anything was okay. The pork and chicken were also pretty tasty. Like that, we ate our dinner while chatting noisily. A program called The Best of Japan had just started on the TV in the dining hall that had been left on for some reason. It's a program that covered Japanese people who were especially active in some field.
あまね先輩も将来この番組に出るかもしれませんね。あまねちゃん、
And her dad
テレビ
comes
に出
on.
して大丈夫かしら。きっと変な発言するわよ。それがいいんじゃないの？先輩美人だし、テレビ映えするよ。
While they were saying these things right in front of the person in question, they turned their attention to the TV. It was showing a middle-aged man with a beard wearing a white coat.
わあ、この人知ってる。なんとかってバクテリアからバイオ燃料を生成する技術を発明した人だよね。発明家ってさ、変な人多いよね。奇人変人っていうの？
I've seen this guy on TV several times. Aside from what Alga had just mentioned, he was also developed various technologies that are applied to things we use in our everyday lives. It was pretty unusual, kind of eccentric oddball, as Kotri has put it. However, at the same time, he was famous for his frank speech. When he dealt with complicated environmental issues and such with one simple statement was quite thrilling to watch.
私、この人好きだな。ちょっと天然入ってて、愛嬌あるしね。
Okay, it's Amina's father. It's 100% Amina's father.
そうね。なんか、誰かに似てる気がする。父だ。
Senpai, who had been focused on eating, casually raised her head and muttered that.
何が？ほら、今テレビに映っている。
Everybody shifted their attention to the TV again. On the screen it said, Inventor Mochizuki Takashi.
もちつき。嘘。
That reminds me, the other day she said her dad was an inventor. So that man is Senpai's dad?
ああ、そうだ。おかしいか？
Oh, then weird. How should I put it? It was really famous! Everyone looked at the TV in blank amazement and compared what they saw with Amina happily biting into her fatty pork.
トントロにはわさび醤油が合うな。今！あまねちゃん、映った！
Behind Takashi was being interviewed, we caught a glimpse of a girl in a white coat.
ああ、父の仕事を手伝った時のものだな。 そういえば、テレビの取材があるって張り切っていたな。
She said this like it was completely unrelated to her and stuffed her cheeks with pork again.
今、父が紹介している発明品は、私が設計したものだぞ。
I know about the invention of talk she was so proudly describing. It was a hot topic for a while. In the morning news, I heard it sold really
グライ
well.
ダー制作の費用は、それらの特許収入から出しているんだ。
She explained it like it was a completely normal thing, but
どうりで資金が潤沢なはずだわ。普段ボケボケってしてるけど、あまねちゃんって本当はすごい人だったのね。
I've been around her all the time recently, so I came to think she was just a strange girl. But she really was an incredible person after all. Turned a little pale when I wondered if it was alright to throw someone like that into the water off the top of a rock.
私は引退したら、ここの研究所に入って、父の仕事を手伝うことになっている。留年を重ねたせいで、父には随分迷惑をかけてしまった。
Once again, the figure of Amina helping her father showed on the screen. She's beautiful, so she looked great on TV. However, we were no longer making a fuss about it. It all seems strangely real now. Showed how Senpai would look after she quits school.
あまねちゃん、これ。
Kotri put this piece of well-grilled beef rib on Amina's little dish.
いいの、これもどうぞ。
I gave her some beef loin.
ありがとう。やったー！牛肉だ
Adorable. Since the topic of her leaving school had unexpectedly come up, the atmosphere around the dinner table became solemn. Except the little wings which fly in the sky highly. Kotri groaned while she was turning the pages of a book written in English. You understand anything?
なんとなくはわかるんだけど。ひばりね、早く帰ってこないかな。そしたら訳してもらうのに。
Kotri was reading a foreign book about morning glory and other similar phenomena. There are few records of such things occurring in Kazagawa, so looks like she ended up looking for something similar. It would be great if there were some articles about phenomena that have occurred in Kazagawa.
しょうがないわ。何せ十数年に一度あるかないかのレアな現象だし。
Seems that when it appeared 26 years! Not 200! What the fuck? When it appeared 26 years ago, it was very abrupt. TV or newspaper described it as only as a strange phenomenon. The photo that people from the soaring club had taken was published back then. The reaction to it could have been quite different. The internet wasn't as widespread as it is now, so articles and records from that time can only be found at the library. Nevertheless, little by little, we got to understand what kind of phenomenon is this.
どうやらあの雲の回廊は最低でも十数キロの長さはあるみたいね。
Said Kotri as she showed me the map she had made herself. It was drawn based on witnesses' testimonies. It's pretty long. Across the lake diagonally and went on straight ahead.
夜明け前に生まれて、日が昇ってしばらくしたら消えてしまうみたい。
How long does it last?
さあ、せいぜい2、3時間ってところじゃないかしら。雲の周りに強い上昇気流があって、それに乗ればグライダーで渡っていくこともできるそうよ。OB の人たちはそうやって撮影したんでしょうね。
Let's see. When the water vapors rise up into the sky near the ascending air currents, the cold air cools it down, creating clouds. There's a strong connection between clouds and updrafts.
いつ起こるのかわからないんじゃ。準備のしようもないよ。
Only 10 days of the summer holidays left. Countdown. Amina quitting the school has begun. Here's the thing though. She won't be quitting school. She'll be quitting the club. And then quitting the school. half a year later, from what she said. So if you find members to keep the soaring club going, manage to get that morning glory thing before she graduates, she still technically win. Anyways, before then we have to cross over the paths of the clouds. No matter how good a glider we build, no matter how good a glider we build and how perfectly we learn to pilot it, if the morning glory doesn't occur, we can't do anything.
こんなとこかな。
Aga was working on some by herself, took a breather and wiped the sweat from her forehead. What have you been doing?
コックピット作ってたの。
Huh? She was attaching pedals and a control stick-like rod to a chair. It's slightly too lame to be called a cockpit, though.
もう何よその顔は。これただのおもちゃじゃないんだからね。
It's self-simulated. Let me try that again. It's to help his simulation. Arya took a cable that extended from her pseudo cockpit and plugged it into the computer. Interested, Kotri leaned over.
シミュレーターを起動して。
I turned it on as she said. Arya sat down in the pseudo cockpit and operated the control stick. Then,
ラダーペダルは上々。
could it be?
シミュレーター用コックピットよ。
Operating the pedals and the control stick attached to a chair moves the aircraft shown on the monitor. Felt almost like magic.
これならより本物に近い操作感が得られるでしょ。
Highly distressing. Aga made way and I sat down to give it a try. Oh! Incredible, it moves properly.
どうやったの？このくらい簡単よ。時間ができたら作ろうって思ってたの。天音先輩もよかったら試してみてください。
When Aga called out to her, Amane, who was sitting in front of the drawing board, raised her head.
何か言ったか？天音ちゃん、こっち来て。これで練習したら、天音ちゃんももっと上手になれるって。
Senpai came here and took a good look at the cockpit that Aga had made.
すごいでしょ？こんなの作っちゃうなんて、アゲハすごい。いや、だから、本当に大したものじゃないんだって。
Go ahead, Senpai.
どれどれ？わあ、ほんとだ。これはいい訓練になるな。
She operated the simulator for a moment while grumbling. I should have made it like this from the start.
ウィンチが戻ってくるまでの間、少しでも練習できればと思って。アゲハ偉い！
For some reason, Kotri was the most excited one about this. The winch broke and club activities were grinded to a halt. You don't just stand around waiting for time to pass. That's why everyone's been looking for something to do. Feeling that we're making him the slightest progress lifted everyone's spirits.
これはよくできてるな。こうして座ることで、より臨場感が増して。
Don't tell me her fear of heights being triggered from this. Amana was trembling.
シミュレーターなのに怖いぞ。それにも慣れることができて一石二鳥じゃない。
After I let Amana take a seat, I stood a little away. While I listened to their exchange, I happened to take a peek at the drawing board. Whenever she has spare time, Senpai is always sitting in front of it. There are some plans drawn there. But the aircraft has already been completed. I've been wondering what she has been drawing for a while. It's a glider, but the shape of the wings is different. The main wings were a bit farther forward in relation to the fuselage. Silhouette was strange and quite different from the airplanes I know.
相変わらず暇そうだな。
Suddenly we heard a familiar voice. At some point, Tobioka had come into the garage unnoticed. Everyone stopped talking and got on guard.
何かと思えばゲームで遊んでるのか。それがソアリング部の活動なのか？
Kotori looked ready to snap at Tobioka, who appeared so suddenly, and started making sarcastic comments.
ダメだよ、小鳥。わかってるわよ。何かご用ですか？
山辺先生が放任しているようなのでな。代わりに私が見に来てやったんだ。
Yamanobe is our advisor, but he hardly ever shows up here. That could be because of the pressure from Tobioka. If he was actively involved with the club, he would get on Tobioka's bad side.
姫木。こんなお遊びのためにロボット部を辞めたのか。お前には期待していたんだぞ。
お遊びじゃありません。
Aga retorted sharply without any fear of Tobioka. He frowned in
こん
frustration.
な部を選んだこと、いずれ後悔するぞ。
そうならないよう努力します。
She looked like she actually wanted to say it's none of your business, blah, but she endured it for now.
望月、また飛んだらしいな。
はい、テストフライトをしました。ちゃんと活動しないと生徒会に怒られるので。
その時、ウインチが故障したらしいじゃないか。
なんでそんなこと知ってんのよ。あれじゃない？山辺先生には報告したから。
Just in case anything happened, we are reporting everything to Yamanobe.
また事故を起こすつもりか。もし怪我人を出したら、今度こそ廃部だぞ。と言っても、どの道あと10日か。夏休みが終わればお前も引退なんだ。頼むから、それまではおとなしくしておいてくれ。
はい。
We left it at that, and Tobioka walked out of the garage.
なんなのあいつ、超ムカつくんですけど。ほんと嫌味なおっさんよね。ロボット部やめて正解だったわ。ねえ、あまねちゃん、さっきあいつが言ってた事故って、あまねちゃん？わかってる。事故はないようにしなきゃな。いや、そうじゃなくって。お腹が空いた。ご飯を食べてこよう。
Amane showed us a forced smile and stood up and left the garage.
何あれ。さあ。ね、事故ってなんだろう。わからない。けど。
Looks like Amane. Looks like for Amane, it's a subject from the past she doesn't want to touch on. So said that their expressions darkened. Nighttime. I got out of the bath. It was about time to go to bed. Amane seemed a little down today. She didn't eat much for dinner, which is quite unusual. Ever since Tobioka mentioned that accident, something must have happened. Everybody was worried about it, but we didn't find the right time to ask her about it. I was thinking about that, walking down the hallway. Amane came down from the second
小
floor.
鳥はいるかな？
She's in her room, I think.
そうか。ありがとう。
Senpai knocked on the door to Kotori's room.
あまねちゃん？
Kotori poked her head out and was surprised to see Amane there. It was probably the first time she's gone to see her in her room like this.
少しいいかな？いいけど、入る？あ。
Invited by Kotori, Amane entered her room. When she was closing the door, Kotori had noticed me standing there. She looked at me like she didn't know what to do and wanted me to go and help her, but there was no way I could go in there. For long, the door shut.
ぐわぐわ。何か言おうかな、あまねちゃん。懐かしいな。ここは昔、イスカの部屋だったんだ。な、あと。くわー。あの頃、何度か遊びに来たことがあった。ハット用の出入り口を作るのも手伝ったぞ。そうだったんだ。
There's also one leading
どうり
outside.
で雑なわけね。あまり変わってないな。
I'm very sorry. It was very annoying for me as well.
私、物が少ないから、ごちゃごちゃしてると動くのに邪魔になるし、部屋を見に来たの？ああ、そうだった。借りていたこれを返そうと思って。 これ、イスカの高校日誌じゃない。返すってどういうこと？それは小鳥のものだろ？違うわ。私は見つけただけで、これは、私のものでもないぞ。でも、あまねちゃんが持っているべきよ。だって、親友だったんでしょ？イスカは私に見せたくて、それをここに残したわけじゃない。もしそうなら、直接渡すか、ガレージに置いてたはずだ。そうだけど。この部屋にあったんだろ？そこの棚と棚の隙間に挟まっていたの。隠してたみたいだった。君が持っておくべきだと思う。イスカもそう思ってるはずだ。あまねちゃんがそれでいいなら。私も君に持っていてほしい。うん、わかった。ここに来たおかげで、またハットにも会えた。わっか。楽しい夏休みだったな。あまねちゃん、まだ終わってないわ。うん。でも、モーニンググローリーは来るから、絶対怒るから。小鳥が言うと、本当にそうなりそうだな。なるもん。それじゃあ、もう寝るよ。おやすみ、小鳥。ハット。おやすみ。わー。というわけなのよ。
We're whispering to each other behind the glider in a blind spot, which couldn't be seen from Senpai's
じゃ
drawing board.
あ、あまね先輩から返してきたんだ。その高校日誌。うん。
Kotri told us the details about what happened in her room last night. Seems pretty meaningful.
でしょ？だからもう私、どうしたらいいかわからなくって。身辺整理ってことなんじゃないかな。もう引退も間近なわけだし。やだ。そんな悲しいこと言わないでよ。私だって言いたかないわよ。でもしょうがないじゃない。
Normally, even if you quit a club, you'd still keep coming to school. However, in Senpai's case, she already has enough credit, so when she doesn't fail any of her exams, she will graduate. As she said before, once she leaves, she'll go back home and to help her father with his work. She probably won't come to school anymore. When we thought about it, it all felt really sad. Since Kotri got Isuka's flight log back last night, we became strongly aware of the situation.
これ、ほとんど日記だね。イスカはグライダー制作の知識はほとんどなくて、実質、あまねちゃんが作ってたみたいなの。
According to the diary, it looks like Isuka was the pilot. Amane made it and Isuka flew it. That's how they shared their roles. I recall that just when we joined the club, Senpai said that there was no pilot. It must have been what she was talking about. The log production process was recorded along with various other events that came with it. Rather than being a flight log, it was more like a production log. Isuka called it a flight log. However, I can't say that she was a diligent writer. There were numerous days where nothing was written. There were also many things that were impossible to understand if an unrelated person read them. For example, trying to consult her about the usual thing was useless. She just doesn't get what youth is all about. And the like. The only ones who would understand that is the author and her. Most likely Amane.
やっぱりこれって、あまね先輩にとって大切なものなんじゃ。だから返そうとしたのよ。でも、私に持っていてほしいって。なんでだろう。私が見つけたからかな。
You might think of it as something you've inherited.
受け継いだ？何を？
Isuka's dreams. Came to the soaring club because you found the log, right?
うん。
Could imagine that it's Isuka that's brought you there.
そっか。あまね先輩からすれば、イスカさんの思いが小鳥を動かしたようにも見えるわけね。
Isuka's dreams, her longing for the sky, were transmitted to the flight log. If those dreams are what's inspired Kotri, it'd be said that she had inherited them.
そうなのかな。
Try to recall it. First, Amane wasn't too positive about getting new members. But her attitude suddenly changed when Kotaro brought her that photo and the flight log, didn't she?
そういや、そうだったね。あの時は事情がわからずにいたけど、あまね先輩にとっては すごく運命的な出来事だったんだろうね。
Kotori felt the weight of responsibility and was thinking deeply with a serious expression.
ところでさ、気になることがあるんだけど。
I get flicked to the flight log.
あった、ここ。
Someday I won't be able to stay here. Was written there. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with the context of previous and following sentences. It just appears suddenly and feels kind of out of place.
なんだろうね、これ。
Oh yeah, some of the words appear a few
こ
times.
れ、学校を辞めちゃうってことかな。
Tried reading more into it, but it doesn't really say why she had to leave.
何か事情があったのよ。ここから去らなきゃならない理由が。じゃあ、イスカさんがいなくなったのは、事故とは関係ないってこと？それはわからない。けど、ハマネちゃんがモーニンググローリーを飛びたがってるのは、イスカのためなんだよね。
Kotori opened the log on a certain page. This is what was written there. Still can't forget the emotions I felt when I saw that photo. To think that such a beautiful scene could fill the same sky that we always see above the city that we live in. Even so, she seemed neither too surprised nor deeply moved. That's why I decided that I will take her there for sure. When she sees the real thing, even Amina wouldn't be moved to tears, no doubt about it. That photo of clouds was placed between those pages. Probably right. There's no way that Amina, who's scared of heights, would want to fly above the clouds. Yet she caused problems for her father and continued to stay at school until she became the super repeat student. She must have wanted to go and see the view that Isuka wanted to show her
ハ
herself.
マネちゃん、なんだ？
Kotori jumped up atop her wheelchair and hastily hit the flight log behind her back.
さっきから何をこそこそ話してるんだ？なんでもないの、ハマネちゃん。そうそう、こっちの話ですから。
Amina looked at me. Yes, just talking amongst ourselves. An answer, Senpai pouted her
そう
lips.
か。私だけ抜け者か。
Aw, crap, she got really depressed. Since she was concentrating on the drawing board, I thought she wouldn't notice us here.
違うの、ハマネちゃんの、送別会をね、企画してて。送別会？今年で引退しちゃうでしょ？だから。
Kotori's voice fades away. Even though it was just an instant excuse, we didn't really want to touch the topic of Senpai leaving. And players Kotori, who had fallen silent, that took over the talk, and we were planning it in secret because we thought we'd surprise you. We're going to prepare all your favorite food and stuff.
そうなんです。そうか。それは悪いことをした。送別会か。楽しみだな。
Seems that you believed us, and then you returned to her position in front of the drawing board.
でも、これでしなきゃいけなくなったわね。
That's fine, let's have a farewell party.
やだけど、やりたい。
We nodded in agreement with Kotori. I don't want to say goodbye to Amina. However, if it's unavoidable, I want to give her a proper farewell. Is that all you need?
シャーペンの芯がなくなりそうだから、それも買っておこう。
Followed Senpai into a stationery store. Gone shopping with Amina today. I'm what you might call the bag carrier. Even so, just me going shopping with Senpai could be considered a side benefit.
よし。もう忘れ物はないぞ。
So, shall we head back?
今日はありがとう。おかげでいっぱい買えた。
No, it's no problem at all. She bought paper and equipment for sketching as well as some tools where I wasn't sure of their usage. The amount and the weight would be too much for Senpai to carry by
けど、
herself.
どうして急に買い出しに付き合ってくれたんだ？
Well, I thought it might be tough to do by yourself. I've been entrusted with a secret mission today. I have to stall her until the others finish preparation for the farewell party. The other day, we hurriedly decided that we would hold a farewell party. But to surprise Senpai, at least a little, wanted to keep the exact date a secret. Right now, Kotori and the others should be proceeding with their preparations at the dormitory. What if they will manage? He told me not to worry though, because they called in some help. Senpai, where are you going? Senpai turned her steps in the direction opposite from school.
荷物を持って帰るんだ。飛び魚荘に。
Why? Are we gonna put them in the garage?
ああ、これは寮で作業できるように買ったものだからな。
I see. Indeed, she bought a lot of things that she already has in the garage.
どうしたんだ？帰らないのか？
No. As bad as it returns to her dormitory, she'll be caught in the middle of the preparations. Why don't we go for a little stroll?
別に構わないが。
Senpai agreed to it, even though her expression showed that she was slightly perplexed by my son's suggestion. Alright, let's go as far as possible. Help. As far as possible. Following that idea, I chose the course for the stroll. So we take a detour and circle the lake along the promenade. Then I noticed that we were walking up a gentle slope.
これは見事だな。
I'm gonna breathe a sigh of admiration as she gazed at the windmills lined up along the long, gentle slope. Is this your first time you've seen them?
下から見るのはな。湖越しにか、空の上からしか見たことなかった。
Not many people would have seen this place from the air. I was one of those few people. Quite proud of that.
ここは自然エネルギーの研究施設だったな。私が慶風学園に来た頃には、まだ建設中だった。
They started building it when I wasn't living here. See, at that time, Senpai was already a student at Keifu Academy. You were in the robotics club during your first year, and after that you joined the soaring club, right?
ああ、そうだ。入ったというより、部を作ったという言い方が正しいな。
To go with Isuka, is that right? For a moment, Amanda looked at me and wondered, then she nodded. I guess Isuka's name coming from me felt out of place.
私はイスカに誘われたんだ。イスカがあの写真やガレージを見つけてきて、ソアリング部を作ろうと言い出した。
Wish you could have seen it.
何をだ？
You at that time. When Senpai was Kotori Iwaga's age. Senpai took a good look at her own body.
今とそう変わらないと思うぞ。
Seems that her boobs were just as big back then. Kotori would be very jealous if she heard that. Her looks aside, I can't imagine Mochizuki Yamane as an innocent young girl. Personality also might have remained unchanged since the time she joined the robotics club. What did you do in the club back then?
それも今とそんなに変わらない。グライダーを作って飛ばそうとしてた。あの頃の私はグライダーにあまり興味がなく、ただイスカが写真の場所へ行ってみたいと言うから、それを手伝っている感覚だった。
Is it different now?
航空工学は私の専門分野ではないが、研究してみると面白い発見がたくさんあった。それに、みんなと、小鳥やアゲハや葵くんと一緒に何かをするのは楽しい。主翼が完成した時のことを覚えているかい？
Yeah, of course.
あの時、嬉しかったんだ。みんなの力が、いや、気持ち？うまく言えないが、それが形になったような気がして。だから、飛ぶのは怖かったけど、テストフライトが楽しみだった。
Senpai, I was moved almost to tears. And I usually don't really know what she's thinking, but now I realize that she felt the same way I did back then.
何でもいいんだと思う。みんなが夢中になれるものなら。
I just happened to be the glider. The rest of us could probably say the same thing.
ずっと知りたかったんだ。イスカが夢中になってた理由を。
You said while she was looking towards the scenery on the distant opposite shore.
あの雲の回廊を飛べば、それがわかるかもしれない。
So that's why you're aiming for it. That place, even if she's all alone. Senpai probably isn't really that into building gliders even now. She isn't chasing the sky, she's chasing Isuka. Where is Isuka now? question that I meant to be asked many times before, but was always stopped by biting my tongue had just slipped out. Senpai looked up at the windmills that were turning slowly in the wind.
さあ、わからない。どこかへ行ってしまった。
Senpai was smiling. She didn't seem lonely or sad. It's more like a smile of resignation. I regretted asking such an unnecessary question. Not knowing what to say next, I looked up at the windmills with her. Whenever I see them, it's such a tranquil scene. Makes me think that living hastily and always pressed for time is absurd.
それにしても暑いな。ソーラーパネルが大活躍だな。
Yeah, other than the windmills, there are also solar panels here. In the direct light of the midsummer sun, those must be working like crazy right now.
そろそろ帰ろうか。
Huh? I wonder. Maybe we should stay for a little longer. Check the time on my cell phone. It's still a bit too early.
でも暑いぞ。ほら、汗がこんなに。
And she pulled away the sweaty clothes that were clinging to her chest. I guess said that one day. That part gets the sweatiest. But then let's go to the convenience
ア
store.
イスか。
Let's go to the convenience store. I'll treat you to ice cream.
い
Ice
い
cream.
な。
Seppa looked like she was about to start drooling and immediately began walking. Followed her, carrying the bags.
私はストロベリーのやつがいいな。甘酸っぱくて美味しいんだ。
Go ahead, eat as much as you like. In order to buy enough time, I'll probably need to make her eat about 2 or 3 ice creams. We're going to be eating later, but that shouldn't be a problem for Senpai.
ただいま。
She's shot! As soon as she passed the entranceway, Amane froze due to being surprised by the sound of crackers going off. Seeing Kotri and Aga out there, she asked,
今日は私の誕生日だったか？違うって。自分の誕生日覚えてないの？さあさあ、どうぞ奥へ。おお。
The big question mark floating above her head, Senpai was brought into the dining hall. When she saw the spectacle awaiting there, she let out an amazed gasp reflexively, followed her inside and groaned a little. The dining table was overflowing with food.
すごい。美味しそうな食べ物がいっぱいだ。気に入ってくれたみたい。まずは成功だね。
Kotri and Aga exchanged smiles.
天音先輩。長い間、お疲れ様でした。ん？忘れちゃったの？送別会するって言ってたでしょ？
Seems that she really had forgotten. She said, and nodded when she finally remembered.
忘れなきゃいけないと思ってたから頑張ったんだ。
If you're trying to forget some, wouldn't that memory become all the more vivid? But we're talking about what Yamana's brain here. She's different from normal people. I'm sorry, Senpai, to keep the preparations for the party a secret. I've been taking you to all these different places all day.
約束だよね。天音先輩とデートできちゃうなんて。
Hey, that's not what this is about.
あれはデートだったのか。
No, like I said.
初めてした。そうか、あれがデートなのか。引退前にまた一ついい思い出ができた。だって、喜んでもらえたみたいよ。
Yeah.
赤くなってる。やらしい。
Shut up. More importantly, you guys have done a great job getting all this food ready. Judging from its appearance, it's mainly a Western-style course. Because it's Italian or French, but I'm not familiar enough with the cuisine to get particular names. However, there's also roast beef and chicken. There's also roast beef and chicken have been grilled on the oven. It's a full-fledged feast.
ひばりねに手伝ってもらったのよ。
Even it got revealed by Kotri. She couldn't wait to come in and enter the dining hall.
こんばんは、天音さん。こんばんは。小鳥ちゃんに頼まれてお手伝いさせてもらいました。
So that's how it was. Then it's no wonder.
言っときますけど、私たちもちゃんと手伝ったんだからね。ねえ。
Afterwards, Anchan and company came in. We invited them to surprise Senpai.
あまね、引退おめでとう。
達也、ありがとう。 かな？私たちも混ぜてもらって。
いいんじゃねえの？俺らも草むしり手伝ったんだし。
Otter and Masatsugu were here too. Like Masatsugu said, they did help out. Besides, at times like these, the more the merrier. Times like this, I mean.
パーティーと聞いちゃ黙ってられないからね。
Kanoko? Thought she went back home.
追い出されてきた。
She must have been loitering around the house in her underwear again. But we can't leave her out of the party. She helped out with some stuff too.
わあ、賑やかだな。
It's like she's talking about someone else's party.
主役はあまねちゃんよ。そうそう。今日は先輩の送別会ですからね。そうだった。ありがとう、みんな。さあ、今夜は飲んで歌って、じゃんじゃん騒ごう。おー。
Don't go too crazy. This building's pretty old, you know.
おいしい。相変わらずだわね。がっかり感が半端ないわね。
Everyone sighed when they saw Amane's eating manners. They totally ruined her image of a beautiful girl.
どうしたんだみんな。なんでもないわ。料理気に入ってもらえてよかったです。おいしい。すごいな。今日の料理は豪華だな。ひばり姉が腕を振るってくれたからね。小鳥ちゃんの大切な先輩さんなんですもの。半端なお料理は出せないわ。
Yabari emphasized the part about Kotori. She's a good person, but when Kotori is concerned, she can be pretty scary at times.
このチキン、おいしいな。
She's wolfing down the chicken grilled with herbs with a complete lack of manners. When I thought that I won't see that hearty way of eating anymore, it felt a little lonely.
ついにあまねも引退か。もっとも最初はまだ続けてたことに驚いたけどな。
父にたくさん迷惑をかけた。これからは親孝行しないといけない。
お前の口から親孝行なんて言葉が聞けるなんてな。
ねえねえ、あんちゃんもソワリング部を復活させた時のメンバーなの？
俺か？俺は違うぞ。後から誘われたんだ。
Amane?
どうだったかな。
達也を誘ったのはイスカだ。私が作ったパーツを見てイスカがこれはまずいって言い出して、一体何がまずかったのか今でもよくわからないんだが。
Senpai didn't understand it, but we grasped it straight away. And therefore she called An-chan.
あんちゃんは昔から工場の手伝いしてて、その手の加工技術はお手の物だったもんね。それもあるが。おっと、これは誰にも言っちゃいけないってイスカから言われていたんだった。危ない危ない。
She said something very meaningful. If it came from any ordinary person, it would have been like an invitation to pursue the topic. But when it came from her, I don't think that was the case.
それってやっぱ、あれじゃない？ねえ。
今のソアリング部を始めたのはイスカとアマネだ。当時は2人だけだったんだ。
2人でできたんですか？部活に。
当時の生徒会は甘かったからな。特にアマネには。何せ学校創立以来の天才少女だ。先生も大抵のことには目をつぶっていた。
そうだったのか。
Senpai said while slurping her soup as if the discussion wasn't her business.
私は天才なんかじゃないのにな。イスカにいつもバカだバカだと言われていた。
Hey, if you like, most geniuses are socially idiots.
アマネ先輩のことそんな風に言えちゃうなんて。イスカってそんなにすごい子だったの？ああ、イスカは天才だった。
When Amane answered, she was proud, as if it was her own achievement. Genius that surpasses Mochizuki Amane. Can't imagine it. When I turned my eyes to An-chan, he just shrugged his shoulders and smiled.
確かイスカが見つけてきたんだよな。ガレージとそこに眠っていたグライダーを。
Senpai nodded while she was busily biting into her chicken.
ある日突然言ってきたんだ。すごいものを見つけたって。それでグライダーを飛ばすことになった。
A lot of details were left out, but I got the picture, so I decided to not delve any deeper. As often happens during conversations with
お
senpai.
前たちが乗っているあの機体も、元は OB が自作したものに、アマネたちが手を加えたんだぞ。
私、ずっとアマネちゃんたちが全部作ったんだと思ってた。OB の人たちもすごかったんだね。
Hearing about the great achievements of the past members made us feel pretty small. Gotta work harder. We're talking about the history of the Soaring Club. The ones who don't have much to do with it were just enjoying the meal.
マー君、これ美味しいよ。ベーコンが巻いてあるやつ。
どれどれおほマジでうめえいいな、こういう飯。うちじゃラーメンと餃子ばっか食わされてるからな。
うちもお父さんが洋食嫌いだから、あんまりこういうの食べたことないよ。おかわりどんどんしてね。あ、はい。小鳥さんのお姉さん、優しいね。
しかも超美人じゃねえか。葵のやつ、いい生活しやがって。
おかわり。はいはい、ただいま。
I'll do it.
いいのよ。水瀬さんは座ってて。
She said as her slippers pattered when she went into the kitchen.
ひばりさんってさ、絶対いいお嫁さんになるよね。彼氏とかいるのかな？どこの馬の骨ともわからない奴に、お姉ちゃんをあげる気はないからね。付き合う相手は、この私が厳しく審査するわ。こっちはこっちでシスコン丸だしね。違うわよ。私はただ、ひばり姉が大好きなだけで。
Really now, that's no excuse at all. Well, let's get your sisters to get along.
ハバネの姉ちゃんって、あんちゃんと同い年くらい？
かな。
We all look at Anchan and then at Amane.
ってことは、先輩とも同じくらいか。はーい、お待たせしました。
Everybody put a second serving of chicken on Amane's plate. Maybe if Senpai hadn't become the super repeat student and had just graduated normally, about this time she would also... Nah, there's no way that could happen. She would have swapped her school uniform for a white coat and worked at her dad's lab. Perhaps her life would have been that much different than it is now.
そういやさ、あまねちゃん、いつもなんか書いてるよね。あれって何の設計図なの？
Kotari asked a simple question.
ああ、それ私も気になってた。
It was on my mind as
グラ
well.
イダーだが？でももう完成してるじゃないですか。
Uh-huh. Kotari agreed. Amane wiped her mouth and stood up. She left the dining hall and came back shortly
これ
after.
か？
She laid out the designs mentioned before. It was a glider that was but it was a different shape than ours. The wings are attached to the body a bit further forward.
何これ？翼の形が違う。他にも改良されてるわね。胴体の形は同じだけど、ほら、こことか。
I got pointed out small differences one by one. There was a considerable number of these changes.
これは、本当は作るはずだった機体なんだ。本当は作るはずだった？
Amane nodded.
さっき達也が言ってたけど、今の機体は旧ソアリング部の先輩方が自作したものだ。すごくよくできたいい機体だけれど、細部まで煮詰められてはいない。
It's also 26 years old at this point.
おそらく
Older even.
外国の有名な機体を真似て作ったせいだろう。機能を理解しないまま模倣した形跡がある。そこへ私なりに改良を加えてみた。
We all eagerly looked at the designs. Even when I find the differences, I've got no idea why this is any better. But the old members did fly above the clouds using an aircraft, didn't they? They took that photo then. In this case, shouldn't its specs be good enough?
当時の航行日誌によると、あの時のフライトは飛行機曳航だったらしい。
Towing plane. In other words, they didn't use a winch, but another aircraft pulled the glider into the air by taking off together.
じゃあ、最初からかなりの高度まで上がれたわけか。
Senpai nodded.
しかし、我々に飛行機はない。私は ウィンチ栄光で少しでも高く飛べるよう、設計の細部まで煮詰め直すことにしたんだ。
And these designs are the result.
でも、結局作らなかったのよね。
Anchan answered Kotori's question.
ボディに加工を加えているし、主翼を一から作り直す必要もある。これを実現しようと思ったら、相当な時間と費用が必要になっただろう。
They had been working on this from back then. I'm pretty sure Anchan would have been at the center of the production.
できなくはないだろうが、難しかっただろうな。
それに、設計図はまだ完成していない。なかなかアイデアがまとまらないんだ。私はバカだからな。
If Amane can't do it, it would be impossible for anyone else. Senpai carelessly folded up the designs, put them aside, and went back to eating.
シールが跳ねる！お姉ちゃん、それどっかやっといて！はーい。
Yeah, but he moved the designs to a place where they wouldn't get dirty, and we returned to our meal. After the meal, we went out to get into the garage to play with the fireworks. This sounds like it would be a CG. Since the farewell party was planned in a hurry, there was a limit to what we'd be able to do, but I want to play with fireworks with Amane. Kotori decided with her authority, leaving no room for argument. And indeed, there was no objection. Well, the rest of us also wanted to do this.
面白いな、これ。色が変わった。ほら、見て見て、あまねちゃん。おお、ほんとだ。いいな。私もそれやりたいぞ。
Senpai was lighting sparklers with Kotori. Seemed that this type of firework was new to both of them. They were really enjoying themselves.
ぬるい。ここは一つ、うちらの流儀を見せておかないといけないわね。
Aika got fired up. She was carrying fountain-type fireworks in both hands. Those are normally set on the ground. Lighting them up and chasing after someone while wielding them in our arms like that was one of our... Stop it.
なんでよ、返してよ。
We finally have such a peaceful atmosphere here. Don't ruin it.
葵のノリが悪くなった。あーちゃん、もう大きいんだから、子供みたいな遊びはやめようよ。
The picture of an older sister being reprehended by her youngest sister.
行くぞそれ
As soon as he shouted that, Masatsugu lit up a large number of mini fireworks and threw them all over the place.
うわ
へへへどうだ
麻婆のアホ
Damn me, what if someone got burned?
わあ、ドキドキした。くー、許せない。そのバカ捕まえて。
へへここまでおいで
あ、逃げた。
Hold it right there!
誰が捕まるかってのうわ
Masatsugu was running around like a little monkey and suddenly got stopped in his tracks. In a blink of an eye, Anchan grabbed him by the scruff of the neck.
あんちゃん
マーボー、ちょっとあっちで話をしようか。
Oh no. Speaking kindly, Anchan took Masatsugu over to the shadows.
あのな、マーボー。楽しむのは大切なことだが、女の子を怖がらせちゃいけない。もう子供じゃないんだ。お前だって女の子に嫌われたくないだろ？
はいごめんなさい。
ああ、あんちゃんを怒らせちゃった。
He did the same thing you were planning to do, you know.
みんな子供だよ。みんな、かき氷できたよ。
I was so sure there was gonna be a CG. Motherfucker. Do I have a CG for this part? I don't think I do. Well, actually, like the whole, like, chucking into the water CG. And I guess the whole, like, hug from Amane. Yeah, I suppose. Anyways, I'll keep going. Kanako came into the garden carrying a big tray with shaved ice.
どうぞ、シロップもありますからね。わあ、かき氷だ。練乳あるかな。私、いちごのやつ。 はいはい、幼い幼い。ちゃんと全員の分あるから。
So ever troubling you?
いいえ、いいんです。だって、小鳥ちゃんがあんなに楽しそうなんですもの。
Yeah, but he got a little tearful. When I came to the dormitory, the only thing he really enjoyed was eating ice cream. At some point, the days when Kotri doesn't smile are pleasant, and she has fun every day. Not just Kotri, but the rest of us
みん
too.
な部活動のおかげなんですよね。
Yeah, probably. Getting immersed in them certainly brought us all together. Amane started it together with Iska, and we had joined just recently. However, Amane won't be around for much
お
longer.
かき氷か。俺はレモン味にするかな。
You are a man of fucking culture, Tatsuya. You're the man, jeez.
あんちゃん、俺も食っていい？
反省したか？
したよ！俺、女の子に嫌われたくない！
あんたそれどういう反省の仕方よ。
うっせ！お前だけは女とは認めねえ！
なんだったかな。ったく、いちいち騒がしい連中ね。もう落ち着いて食べられないじゃん。きーときたー。冷たくて美味しいな。この不思議な青色が食欲をそそる。
Fireworks and shaved ice. When it comes to summer memories, nothing beats those. After eating the shaved ice, there were still some fireworks left. Like they always talk like in anime. It's always like fireworks. Ah, yes, summer memories. Like the only occasions when I see fireworks is fucking New Year's. So it's just like yeah, sure. Well, let's stick them into the snow heat. Wait, summer. The most annoying part was shoveling the fucking snow. That's just riddled with the goddamn rest of the fireworks. Thankfully, my family doesn't really do too many fireworks. We just watch the others. After eating shaved ice cream, shaved ice, there were still some some fireworks left. Looks like Aga asked Totoro and Masatsugu to buy them. It's kind of a problem because they don't know how much is too much. I headed over to where Kotori and Aga were playing with sparklers.
綺麗ね。私はもっとわーって派手な方が好きだけどな。
I like both kinds, but I'd rather make the most of the last remnants of summer instead of getting really noisy and excited about fireworks. When I lit the sparklers, Anchan came up beside me.
ハンちゃんもやる？この鉄砲型のやつとかどう？あ、それ私の最後にやろうと思ってたやつ。
いや、俺はいいよ。お前らが楽しんでるのをこうやって眺めてるだけで十分だ。
Everyone looked at him like they didn't really understand what he meant. Anchan sat down beside me and looked towards Amane, who was playing with fireworks a little farther away. Nice. Amane was lighting sparklers with Masatsugu and Hotaru.
なんだか可愛いな、この花火は。
線香花火は最後にやるもんだろ。
So there's my thumbnail worries immediately out of the way.
いいの、好きなんだもん。うん、私もだ。
チェ女ってこういうの好きだよな。
Anchan, watching over them, had a gently and somewhat sad look in his eyes. Hey, Anchan.
ん？
Iska, where did you go? Hearing my question, Kotori and Aga raised their heads as well.
どうしてそんなことを聞くんだ？
Anchan must have realized that it's been on our minds. But despite that, he asked us back. Senpai's told us that she went away somewhere. But I don't know if she went somewhere. That's what Senpai said earlier today. I asked her at Windmill Hill. Amane kept working on the glider because she wanted to know why Iska was so obsessed with it. She might understand if she crosses over the passage of clouds, is what she said. Hey, Anchan, why did Iska go away? I, or rather all of us, were probably expecting the same answer. She died in an accident. Okay, now that this, they're setting it up like we all expected this to be the thing. It's not gonna be the thing. She actually just graduated before they finished the fucking glider. We expected the worst, but we didn't want to be right about it.
さあ、わからない。
You don't know?
事故があったんでしょ？
Anchan made a surprised expression as if he wanted to ask how we knew about
あ
this.
あ、そうだ。いつかはその事故に巻き込まれたらしい。
じゃあ、やっぱり。
In response to Komori's murmur, Anchan just shook his head like he couldn't quite say anything definite.
あれは夏休みの間に起こった出来事だった。あの時、天音も俺も風ヶ浦にはいなかったんだ。事故があったことは壊れた機体を見れば明らかだった。けど、そこで何があったかは結局教えられず、いつかは二度と戻ってこなかった。
She was obviously silenced by an international secret organization. So she really did die after all. However, it seems that Anchan thinks otherwise.
もしその事故でいつかが死んだのなら、もっと大きな問題になっていたはずだ。しかし、学校側は事故をもみ消し、なかったことにした。以来、その話はタブーとなった。
探さなかったの？
探そうとしたさ。けど、いつかは寮生で一人暮らし。実家がどこにあるか誰も知らなかった。
トビウオ荘のオーナーさんなら知っていたんじゃ。
教えてはもらえなかった。どうやら、口止めされていたらしい。
also.
ああ。あいつも俺と同じで、いつかがどうなったのか知らないはずだ。天音は、いつかがいなくなった後も、グライダー制作を続けた。まるでそうすることで、いつかが戻ってくるって信じてるみたいに。
あんちゃんも続けてたんでしょ？
Anchan shook his head. The men now.
いつかがいなくなった後、天音は変わった。人を寄せつけなくなった。
あの天音ちゃんが？
We exchanged glances as we simply couldn't believe it.
それ以来、俺は天音と疎遠になっていった。気には留めていたんだがな。誰もいないガレージで孤独に浸るあいつを見ているのが辛かった。それに何より、突然いつかを失って、俺もかなり参ってた。
You're lost for words. I'm gonna continue to work on the glider all alone in that big empty garage. Anchan hurt deeply after losing someone. We didn't want to imagine either.
私たちが出会った時、天音ちゃんはすぐに私たちを受け入れてくれたわ。でも部員を入れることには積極的じゃなかったわ。
Photo and Isuka's flight log brought by Kotori changed.
歳月が傷を癒して、天音の堅くなさも評価していったんだろう。けど、あいつがあんなに楽しそうにしてるのは、葵たちのおかげだと思う。
また色が変わった。面白いな。綺麗ですね。
An innocent smile lit up Amina's face as the little sparkles were flickering and crackling. Rainbow-colored lights were reflected in her honest eyes, resembling those of a little kid. Senpa was finding little wonders in each spark, and her curiosity made her brim with excitement.
なあ、誰のが一番長いか競争しようぜ。
いいよ。おお、面白そうだな。やろうやろう。
Anchan watched over her with a kind look in his eyes, but it was like he was also looking at something far, far away.
俺は自分のことで手一杯で、友達だったあいつに何もしてやれなかった。都合のいい話だが、お前たちがあいつと出会ってくれたことに心から感謝してる。
Anchan, we can do it together from now on. Anchan shook his head.
俺はとっくに引退した身だ。OB として手伝えることがあれば手を貸すよ。引退までの間、天音のこと頼む。
Aga, Kotori and I all nodded silently at Anchan's request. Anchan's cell phone started ringing.
悪い。もしもし、達也です。はい。はい。本当っすか、吉沢さん。わかりました。明日の朝一番で取りに行きます。
The winch is repaired! Anchan ended the call and smiled widely. What is it?
喜べ、お前ら!
When he told us, our excitement suddenly doubled. After that... Tomorrow, the winches!
ウインチ、戻ってくるって
As we scrambled to inform her about it, Senpai tilted her head and looked at us dubiously.
つまり
We can resume the test flights tomorrow! Thoughts about that last remnant, about the last remnants of the summer holiday have disappeared somewhere. Our feelings were already soaring towards tomorrow.
「校舎裏にひっそりと立つ古びたガレージ。
So that's Iska. I'm guessing we'll be seeing Iska at some point, and that's gonna be her voice. That's just my guess, though. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and see you next time. Bye-bye.